this Tuesday night, Wednesday, the holiday of Shavuot. And I just got to share with you some really, really, really deep insights. One really very specific one that we have to take note of. The Mekubalim, the Kabbalists, will call the day of Shavuot the wedding day. And as we know, the custom is that to stay up all night learning the Torah, and of course, daven the next morning. And as the festival of Shavuos is, there's a shacharit, there's a morning prayer, and then there's an additional service, just like Shabbos and a Yom Tov. And the Mekubalim, of course, this idea of staying up all night that I was taught, in my early days in yeshiva, that the reason is because they slept. And Hashem, when he wanted to give them the Torah, had to go and wake them all up and going, guys, come on. Hello, right? Hello, George, get out of bed, right? So he had to wake everybody up and get everybody like, oh, yeah, okay, I forgot. Oh, yeah. And which is kind of strange. And so people will call it the tikkun, the fixing of Shavuot, is that we stay up all night to fix the fact that we were sleeping. That is the classic understanding idea that is conveyed in many circles. Another idea that I heard, oh, sorry, I didn't put this on. Another idea that I heard about Shavuos is why we stay up all night, actually, was the kind of the opposite. Listen to this twist. Follow me. They specifically went to sleep. They understood what the Torah is, that is a high stream of consciousness that was going to be bestowed. Gadlut, the gadlut of Keter of Arich Anpin, if you know the map. Arich Anpin, above the Keter of Arich Anpin. It was coming the highest of high lights. The lights that we had on the Seder night was like a little smidge of that. It was actually that. But now we work for it all through the counting of the Omer till Shavuos, where it's boom, okay? And the idea here is of this light of lights that's happening on Shavuos. The people said we have to sleep so our subconscious can get it. Because our conscious minds, this is unconscious. We're talking about beyond conscious, supra-rational, as they would say. Not irrational. We can't be in our rational minds and receive the Torah. We have to be in a supra-rational state. So we're going to go to sleep. And then during the sleep, we'll receive the Torah. That was they were thinking. Hashem, of course, woke them up and says, no, that is not what it is about. So therefore, a reason why they stay up all night is because of that. Also, miscalculation in order that we are conscious all night and don't think that we get it through sleep. Then there's the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai from the Zohar in Daf 8, Daf Shmone. Amud Aleph explains something completely different, which gets us into what Shavuos is. That Shavuos is the wedding night. It's called the night of the bride. Shavuos is the night of the bride. Don't forget, Cinderella. Cinderella, the Jewish people in Egypt were Cinderella. Paro, wicked stepmother, right? You just put some lipstick on Paro, good to go. And then the Egyptian people, the wicked stepsisters, they knew that on the Seder night, there was going to be this great dispense of light that was going to be unleashed in the world, and they were ready to get it all. They were going to dance at the ball, and they were going to marry the prince, okay, or the king, who will be the king. But of course, what happened was there was a huge influx of light, and they got blown away. Paro and the Egyptians got blown away, too much light. But of course, the Jewish people had the vessel for the light and were able to have this unbelievable experience. But as it happens, the day after Passover, no more light. The ball is over. Cinderella had to run because her carriage was going to turn into a pumpkin. We had to eat the afikomen by midnight, right? Actually, we really had all night, but really it was midnight, according to the sages. In any case, they left behind a shoe. Okay, Cinderella left the slipper, the glass slipper. Who can fit the glass slipper? And we say that the glass slipper, of course, the king went around to find his bride, to find his soulmate. Everybody had to try on the shoe until finally he got to Cinderella. And I think that might be in our story. No parable is complete, okay, is airtight, okay? There's holes in every parable. But basically, it has to be before the wedding because he has to discover her. But that could be 3 days. Shlosh Yemei Hagbala. There's 3 days before Shavuot where people, the Jewish people, if you read in the narrative, are getting ready for the holiday. Basically, it was like a mass conversion. So they all went to the mikvah. And it was a whole dynamic. But of course, Shavuos is the wedding night. That's not actually, the wedding doesn't happen till the next day. So the whole night, which is called the night of the bride. So the shushbinim of the bride, who are they? Her maidens adorn her with jewelry. And the Jewish people, when we are learning all night, we are adorning the Shekhinah, the divine presence, the experience. It's like we're helping the Kala, who's the collective consciousness of the Jewish people. We're preparing her, adorning her with jewelry to go and then go under the chuppah and be married to infinity. So we're involved in an experience of infinity. Now we know that Har Sinai, the whole experience of Mount Sinai that happened 3,337 years ago, I think that's the right calculation, not sure, that every single year the same energy is there. It's like the window opens, the window of energy is there, and we call it the day of Kabbalah of Torah, receiving of the Torah. So the idea of why we study all night, that we talked about a couple of reasons. They slept, they shouldn't have slept, they did sleep, they shouldn't have, 2 reasons why they didn't sleep, they shouldn't have slept. And then here, this is the reason that we are giving jewelry, we're putting jewelry, every single word of Torah that we're saying. Don't forget, when 2 people are sitting and just engaging in Torah, the divine presence comes. And so learning Torah and studying Torah, and especially if you get new ideas, any new insight, it's like, whoa, another piece of jewelry on the bride. So it's a fantastic idea. That's why we stay up all night, is because we're adorning the bride. Now, the idea here is the wedding, really, according to the Sifsei Chain, is the Jewish people are the bride. Good morning. It's like when one stands, according to the Zohar, you're putting jewelry. But then again, we know that what is the Shekhinah? The Shekhinah is the collective souls of the Jewish people. We're children of the Shekhinah. We're connected. So whatever she gets, we get. And that's how the Zohar describes it. She goes under the chuppah, gets all the gifts, and all, of course, the bridesmaids, who, according to the Zohar, who we are, right? The bridesmaids. Okay, so that was my hair. Okay, now actually my hair has already been done by the, okay. In any case, the king, it's the king's day. This is the king getting married. It's not just, okay, Anthony. This is the isness of the universe that no one created. The infinite is now going to connect in some way to the finite. Okay, and that's the Shekhinah. The Shekhinah is the divine experience. It's a wedding. And the wedding, of course, so the whole night, the jewelry, and then Shachrit, the morning service, is the chuppah. And then the Musaf service, which is the additional service, that's called the Heder Yichud. The Yichud is when they join. We call it Heder. For PG rating purposes, we'll call it the Heder Yichud, the room where, after a wedding, you'll notice that they go into a room alone. Okay? So that's when they're actually joining in Musaf on Keter. So most people in these days, it's very hard to stay up all night. And even if you stay up all night to pray the next day with any kind of conscious mind is also extremely difficult. So what some Hasidim do is they'll stay up till Alos HaShachar. They'll say the Shema, they'll go to the mikveh, and then they go to sleep, and then they come back to synagogue like a mensch and be able to pray, because that's the real essence of Shavuos, is the next day. But I know some people, we get caught up. We don't, people, we're not so strong anymore like they used to, the Kabbalists, who could stay up all night and still maintain a completely aware mind, and they're not sleepy at all the next morning, and they can go for hours, some people have different customs. Some people, don't stay up, go to daven the next morning. The idea here is, I just wanted to lay out the formula for how Shavuos works and what it is. It's a wedding of the Creator to Am Yisrael, to the souls of the Jewish people. We are getting married. And then that wedding is actually Shachris and Musaf the next day, and the whole night is basically adorning the bride. So, but to get to the thing where the Sifsei Chain moves it in a direction which in my book is there, okay, is that when you get married, what is it? What does it mean? What does it mean, Rabbi? I'm getting married to the Ein Sof. You should really be you have to be extremely happy. The joy should know no bounds, because you are finally, it's almost like it meshes with the Golden Mountain and the Pearl Castle, because you're like, I'm finally there. I'm finally there. Can you imagine? I got it. I'm finally there. And even if you're not finally there, the idea is to have the energy within you, as if, use your imagination, as if you are there. And so, but when you partner in joint general, like we see down here, it becomes a partnership. And so the language of the Sifsei Chain, which is just amazing, is when they partner, let me just get the words here. Okay. The greatest simcha. And then the house is more of a partnership, that they're together, and they could have children and build a house, right? So that's, as to say, so to speak, we're going to say, so to speak, the wedding of the Holy Oneness, blessed be He, with the children of Israel, that before Matan Torah, before the giving of the Torah, all the way that Hashem drove creation, all of the guiding of creation was only by God. And in the time of the wedding, Shavuot, through Har Sinai, us receiving the Torah, which the Torah is the Kli Umanuso Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem looked into the Torah and created the world. Follow my words. Hashem looked into the Torah and created, it was his craft. And so when he gave that to us, that through the Torah, all of the worlds were created, and through it, all of the worlds are guided. And together, right, biyachad, together, turn the page, with the Torah, he gave it to us, the power. That is, we received the keys to fixing creation. Again, we got the keys. When we became married to Kodesh Baruch Hu, we got the keys, we got the code, we got the access, we got the tools to fix all of creation. Yes, that's right. Don't look to this guy or that guy to fix it. It's really in our hands through the Torah, that there should be a complete tikkun of the world that is dependent upon our deeds. So the idea here is, there was this great story. I'm going to end in just a couple of more minutes just to give a little embellishment of the story. I remember a long time ago, before I came to know, there was a movie that was called Sphere with, I think, Dustin Hoffman. It was a great, interesting story about they discovered on the bottom of the ocean someplace some craft, a spacecraft. They thought it was alien. They invited a group of scientists and special people who were trained in case they had an encounter. They went in. They didn't see anything else. They did discover it was a craft from the United States that was 300 years in the future that was obviously ended up being back in time and there before us. But in any case, the craft had this weird sphere in it. And the interesting thing about this sphere is one guy decided to go in and he passed out next to the sphere. He came out of the sphere because it was this kind of this lucid, like kind of liquid stuff, weird. Anyways, they found him passed out outside the sphere. They revive him. He seems to be kind of normal, but he's really engaged in reading, and he's really engrossed in reading this one book, 2,000 Leagues Under the Sea, by Jules Verne. And there's one point where the monster attacks the ship in the book, and then that's where the pages, weirdly enough, go blank because he tells people, I can't handle that part. It's too frightening for me. And then the weird thing is the ship gets attacked by something. You know, their station beneath the surface of the ocean gets attacked, and a lot of calamities happen. And then they start to discover that first of all the other guys went into the sphere, and they discovered basically that this thing, when you go into it, it manifests your fears. So if you have imbalanced fears, if you're afraid of the monster, you're afraid of this, you're afraid of that, it will manifest whatever it is that you fear. Just think, it's an amazing kind of concept. Actually, it comes from a movie, I think in the 50s, Angry Red Planet, I think it was, where there was this it was a black and white movie that this monster was attacking constantly, invisible. They couldn't figure out what it was till they figure out it was their fears. That the place induces a manifestation of fears. The Torah, it induces, it's user friendly though. It's not gonna, but it does tell us where to direct our fears, that we only should only have one fear, and that's fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, fear of God, awe, reverence of the Creator. And the idea there is, of course, you shouldn't have any other fears. But of course, in the end, just to finish the story, they said, we can't handle this gift. They realized it was a gift that came from who knows where. And they had to just kind of like figure out how to get the gift off the planet because mankind was not mature enough to handle it because it manifests. And if you're not mature, boom. So the idea that the Torah is very much the same. It manifests. And that now that we have the Torah, we're married to Kadosh Baruch Hu, we receive the Torah, we can have to understand and grasp the power that really Tikkun Olam, fixing the world, is in our hands. You have to use the Torah. I'll tell you one story. There was my friend Nati Kenstein's son was having a fever, and there was a meningitis going around. Freaked out, sent to the ambulance. The wife went with the kid to the hospital, and he, after the ambulance takes off, he sees this big Rebbe coming out down the street with his entourage, and he jumps in front of the Rebbe, and he says, Rebbe, my son, they just took him to the hospital. Please pray for him. And the Rebbe says, what parsha is it? And it happens to be, that week was the parsha of Vayechi Yaakov. And he says, what's the name of your son? And the guy says, Yaakov. Vayechi Yaakov. So he used the force of the Torah. The words of the parsha, the first two words, Vayechi, and live, Yaakov. And he utilized that, and he said, Vayechi Yaakov, and he said it with it does exist. Okay, the Golden Mountain and the Pearl Castle exists. And so he said, Vayechi Yaakov, and he said, the kid's fine, it's not meningitis. That's what he said, right? And the kid was fine. The idea was, that was just an idea of how the Torah, and a lot of times the sages, and if the more we learn, and even just reading it, we become part of the creative force that fixes the world. The more we learn Torah, and it has to be our chelik, our portion in Torah. We say every day, the same Helkenu, give us our portion in your Torah. Everyone is like a letter, okay? So much more to speak about it. But the idea here is when you're marrying a Kadosh Baruch Hu, you're a partnership, and you're getting the Torah, which is the keys to fixing the world, which is in our hands. Don't look to anywhere else where you think the world will be fixed. We study Torah. We have the code. We have the keys that guides all the worlds in the most deepest way. So we should be zocheh this Shavuot. When we receive the Torah, we understand what we're receiving, make a commitment to be attached to it. If you got to learn every day a little bit, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 18 hours, whatever. But to make a commitment to attach ourselves, to know that the Torah here is a responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. Okay. Anyways, we'll end here. Let me close off the stream here and then leave it for anybody have any